And what the doctor was saying was, you should be in the hospital. But I didn't feel it because I've always managed a high level of stress. I think brands have a bigger role in not taking a side, but being the voice of reason. Do you and do you well. If you don't want to work with me, don't. There are plenty of people that will. With tears in her eyes, she said, what are we going to do about it? Well, are we going to cry and have a pity party? Or are you going to go and be the successful person that I know you can be in this industry?
Welcome to the Embrace Live podcast, a masterclass in living well, where we uncover how New York's most successful leaders in business, media, and entertainment navigate the intensity of this city while prioritizing wellness, health, purpose, and fulfillment. From boardrooms to red carpets, we dive deep into the habits, mindset, and resilience that keep them thriving in the city that never sleeps. Okay, welcome back to the Embrace Life. Our next guest has done it all and had a high-flying leadership career. She has worked with some of the biggest brands that you've heard, but yet still remains joyful, gracious, giving, and kind. And so this really is a masterclass in a life well lived. So we're going to find out how she does it all. So known as the Fixer, Nadja Bellan-White has had over 30 years in senior leadership in brand building and advertising. She was recently named the first CEO of SNK, and there's a little kind of background story there. SNK is a public affairs company responsible for the Obama's Yes We Can campaign. She was also global CMO at Vice Media and CEO of Ogilvy Africa, where she worked from Nairobi and across the continent, right? Mm-hmm. So Nadja, welcome.
Hello.
Hello,
Good afternoon,
hello.
Robert. How you doing?
Good. That's quite a lot of stuff there.
As you say it, it sounds like a lot, but I don't feel like it is because I feel like I'm just getting started.
You are just getting started?
Just getting started.
Wow.
With just everything. Look, I think that there's a point in your life where you have to recognize what your higher power is, right?
Yep.
People pray for, I'd like to be more prosperous. I'd like to be healthier. But I think what you have to pray for is that the work that you do actually makes the positive impact on others. And I've tried to pray for that. So I hope that the work that I'm doing, the legacy that I'm building, allows others to live their best lives. I think that's the best example.
So with that, and with everything that you've accomplished, right? How are you feeling about Nadja Bellan-White right now?
Strangely enough, I've been through such a transformation, divorced and kids are off at college, post-college. I've never been healthier than now.
You've never been healthy?
No. And here's why. I think I finally figured out the priority scheme. I mean, you put God first more than anything else, and I'll never doubt that that's the case. I try to take care of my mom, my kids, but I started prioritizing myself and being unapologetically selfish. When I moved back to New York from London, people said, are you going to get a car? Instead, I got a trainer. I joined your team, which was, and I really say I'm joining your team because it is a team effort to work with Robert Brace's team of people that put your body back together again. Some of it was instigated by my doctors who said, if you don't slow down and manage your stress, you won't be here for 60. So that did have something to do with my desire.
You won't be here for 60.
You won't be here. Because I remember I was walking across Madison Avenue and I had one of those stress monitors strapped to me. And they were monitoring my stress levels. And what the doctor was saying was, you should be in the hospital. But I didn't feel it because I've always managed a high level of stress. So I started changing things, changing my diet, changing my prioritization, stopped apologizing for things I can't help, and started really focusing on myself. And that was probably 3 years ago.
Now, I'm glad we're jumping right in here. But prioritizing yourself, like I hear this from so many senior women in leadership, right? Now, some of it must be obviously the intensity of the positions that you're in, right? But culturally as well, like you're talking about, you have kids, helping your mother, right? What, aside from the doctors, because that probably was the scare, that was the wake-up call, what put you in a place where you could give permission to yourself to put yourself first? Because that has to be an actual cognitive decision.
The doctors were pretty clear.
Right.
You won't make it past 60. And when you think about how much my children, my mom, people are dependent on you, you recognize you got to take it seriously. And then you say to yourself, you look at pictures of what you used to look like and you're like, why did I look like that? I look so puffy, whatever. So I started paying attention, and I'm so proud of my friends, who held me accountable, right? Some of them work out with you today, and they were like, okay, girl, no, you got to get up and walk this park with us. I was like, yeah, but I don't want to. They're like, yeah, but we don't care. You're going to get up and walk the park with us. So I'm very grateful to my accountability sisters, as I like to call them, who really helped pull me back together again and said, yeah, girl, I know that you're having a hard time. And I know you feel like everything's falling apart and nothing's going well, but this too shall pass. And, it did. And look, life is about ups and downs.
Right.
And I think if you think that everything's going to be perfect every day, you're wrong. But things aren't going to be all doom and gloom either. So you really have to manage the waves in between. You got to know how to ride the waves. And I've learned how to ride the waves, but a big part of that is involved with keeping myself healthy and paying attention to how my body is feeling and knowing what I need to. Like, one of my rituals is I listen to a sermon every morning.
Yeah.
If I don't wake up with a sermon, something's wrong. Now, things will happen.
Right.
I have to
but that's what
ground myself, whether it's for 20 to 30 minutes, which is normally, or if it's 5, I need to do that grounding. I need that spiritual grounding before your feet hit the floor.
Yep.
Or else your day just doesn't go the way it needs to. I also send myself flowers.
You send yourself flowers? All right. So how does that start?
I do. I will go to my florist and they send me flowers every week. And my cleaning lady knows exactly what I need. I need things in their own special place. And then when I moved into my new apartment, I made it about me. It is my apartment is, people come in there and they're like, gosh, it is so comfortable.
Yeah, I've been there.
My mom was there. She was like, why is it so peaceful in here? I said, because I had to create my peace. It's a tough world out there.
Yeah.
There are lots of isms. Racism, sexism.
Yeah.
You pick an ism. Ageism. I don't like you ism.
Right.
You think you're better than me isms. And I don't care. I go into my house and I don't care.
So you were a global chief marketing officer at Vice.
Navigating them through bankruptcy. That was fun.
Yeah. So that's what I want to talk to me about.
Talk about that. How crazy was I would come in stressed out.
The emotional toll of that. Because I do have a comment afterwards, but just talk to me about because
what that was like.
Not many. Look, most of us don't ever get to see that, be involved in that level. Huge company, navigating them through bankruptcy. I can imagine loads of media chatter around it.
Every time I came in the office, someone leaked something to the media.
Right.
It was exhausting. But you got to remember, you got to separate yourself from the story. That's your job, but it's not who you are.
Right.
There's probably some people I work with that got caught up in the difference between the two. You got to remember, you're not the story. You are merely part of the story. The story is about the brand. The brand is what's going through bankruptcy. That's not you.
Right.
You have to help them navigate through it and keep the team focused on their North Star.
Wow. But with that craziness, what are you feeling?
Anxiety. That's crazy. Anyone that tells you they don't feel anxiety during that is full of shit. Of course, I felt anxiety every day. But that was part of also coming to you, right? Because I would go to your team 3 times a week and just get all my aggressions out with my boxing gloves on or working out, hitting the weights.
Yeah.
And it calmed me down because you also can't get so caught up in the day-to-day that you forget it's a job.
Yeah.
It's a job. It's not rocket science. It's not brain surgery. I'm still blessed. Yeah, it's inconvenient, but you try.
Yeah, and see, I remember when that was happening and you were in the studio. And yeah, obviously you can tell, oh, she looks a little stressed today. But you talked about pretty much some of the stuff you're saying right now about how, you know, and then the transition, I think it was the transition from there to your next position, right? And you were thinking, you were like, well, I don't know, there's nothing on the horizon right now. I'm having meetings. I don't know what's going to happen, right? But there was a sense of calm to you.
Oh, yeah. But that's the spiritual grounding, right?
And that's what I want to talk about.
I know.
Now, before you even go into your answer, the reason I want to talk about that, right, is because I was a minister for 6 years. I was a pastor for 6 years, right?
Pastor Robert Bruce.
So I know that some people say it but don't believe it. And they're saying it so that they can catch up with their belief, right? But when you said it, I was like, oh, she really believes that.
Well, you remember I said I start my day every day with a sermon.
Right.
That started when I was in London.
Okay.
It started in London during COVID. And I never stopped. I probably have over 800 and something sermons saved. Some of them I listened to twice.
Right.
And it's how I start my day. And look, I sometimes don't always trust that the next rung on the ladder is going to be there and I start to slip. But I have to trust that it's going to be okay. But sometimes when you're in it, it's hard to see it. Sometimes you cry. Sometimes you get frustrated. Sometimes you're like, oh, why can't it just be easier for me?
Right.
Well, I don't think it's easy for anybody. But this is the card I've been dealt. Like, you know, when I got divorced, I had to start all over again and start rebuilding financially and whatever. I just had to do it. One left foot, right foot, one foot in front of the other, and you keep doing it. What else can you do?
Right.
Right? Like my mom is moving in with me and she's a Caribbean mom, which means it comes with all the things that if you are out there in the audience and you have a African or Caribbean mom, let me tell you something.
Yeah.
They love them. There's a lot, right? But I'm grateful she's here.
Right.
And so you just put things in perspective, right? Like, okay, everything's not going to be perfect. I'm not going to be perfect. I will have slip-ups. I will slip back. I can't figure it out, but I dust myself off and I try again. And that's what you have to do.
Yeah. And, you know, the spirit, the fact that obviously sometimes we have that strong faith or that strong belief. Other times we're struggling, but there's an underlying current with you, at least from what I've seen. There's an underlying current with you which allows you to still be joyful.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think that's the spirituality. I think you guys have an incredible group of friends.
Yeah.
Which I think is enviable by any.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
Talk about that.
It's funny. I was talking to a friend of mine and he said, you know what you have is not normal, right?
Precisely.
And I said, that's not true. Everybody has a group of friends. He said, no, that's not, like, everyone doesn't have that. Every time I talk to you guys, you're like taking off to go to another part of the world. I said, yeah, everyone does that. And he's like, yeah, no, that's not the case. And we feel blessed that we have this and we lean on each other a lot. And there are times we go, you know, I can go months without talking to a couple of them. And then I'm like, wait a minute, I haven't spoken to you.
Right.
What's going on? Some, like, you know, I talk to almost every day in the morning, right? And, you know, one of my, you know, Lucinda and I were chatting about her deceased ex-fiance, and he used to say to me, what the hell are y'all talking about? I was like, whatever we didn't talk about last night. He's like, but you just got off the phone. I said, did we? Well, I have something else to say to her. He's like, it's 7 o'clock in the morning. What could have happened to you? I was like, I don't know. You know, Mona and I talk a lot. Yolanda and I talk a lot.
Yep.
Janine. There's a whole bunch of us that
and just so people understand, like all of these women are in senior leadership somewhere, doing so, not just like, kind of, all right, they've got a good position. They're like making massive changes in different.
We don't talk about work.
So that was going to be my question.
So everyone thinks that we talk about work. We don't talk about work. We talk about how you doing, girl.
Right.
So what's going on? You don't look up. What's happening?
Right.
Kids good? Like, we don't talk about work. We are like, how are you doing? How's your heart? How are you feeling? Oh, you looking great. Like Kara, who started working out with you.
Yeah.
She's like my baby sister from University of Virginia. And I was like, girl, you having a tough time? Go see Robert Brace. And she said to me the other day, they've changed my life. And so I think some of it is also not being afraid to share the joy that Robert Brace gives us.
I appreciate it.
And I call it not just you, but the collective, the team. And so I'm so incredibly grateful for the fact that you're a nice car payment for me. It's not a bad thing.
You're working on a different vehicle.
I'm working on a different vehicle. I'm trying to get healthier. I'm telling you, that picture from that stage when I did is everything. People, that's envy.
Yeah.
They see that picture, they're like, how did you look like that? I'm like, well, I go to this guy. Yeah. And he has a group of trainers that basically prop me up. And every time I try to eat bad food, they slap it out of me.
That's awesome. So, and you'll get hitting all the questions before I hit them, but because I wanted to ask, we're going to get to a question on longevity in career. But before we get there, like, what does it take to cultivate that longevity in your friendships? Because what your friend said is right. It's not normal, right? Mm-hmm. And it does seem to be with this particular group, you've bought into it, whatever it is, right? Well, if you talk about the longevity, because you guys have got history too, right? So,
yeah, but you know what? I don't think any of us try to make anybody what they're not. Some of us in the group are more introverted than others.
Right.
You got to leave them alone when they need to be left alone. Some are complete extroverts and you let them just own the room. Mm-hmm. Some love their champagne more than let them love their champagne. Some love their martinis. I won't say who. But life is hard. So friendship shouldn't be that complicated. And we're not jealous of each other.
You say that, right?
But we're not.
No. I believe you. It's not that I don't believe you. I'm saying you say that so simply.
Yeah.
But for a lot of people, that's not easy to do.
You gotta get some different friends.
Because
we're not jealous of each other.
I guess what I'm trying to get is for the person who's listening to this and who's like, I want that. Like,
don't be jealous of your friends. If you want that, then come at it just from being cool sister friends.
Right.
But don't be jealous of them. That everybody has their path.
Right.
Everyone has their reason for being.
Mm-hmm.
But being jealous doesn't help them. Be happy for them. Be excited for them. I love bragging about my friends. I love sending people to my friends. You know, they like to make fun of me like, Lord, if Nadja has one more person she's got me to talk to. But I also know that they give really good advice.
Right.
And we seek advice from each other.
Right.
That's what makes it special.
Wow. Being a Black woman in corporate America.
Lord, how long do you have? That's a whole separate podcast episode. Look, I've had the door slammed in my face more often than not. And it never gets easier.
Never gets easier.
No.
So talk to me about that.
It's hard. I had a conversation with my current boss out of London about something. And he said, I'm just not going to read some of these comments because they're hurtful. And I can tell you as a person of color that they're hurtful because they're hurtful. And I was...
Comments about you.
Yeah. Yeah.
People are writing comments about you.
Mm-hmm. Fuck them.
Yeah.
Sorry, Pastor, but that's kind of how I feel. You have to have a fuck you attitude.
Right.
Because if you spend time thinking of every time someone criticizes you, you will be balled up in a corner in tears. Fuck them. Everyone's not going to like you. And you're not going to like everybody. And early on, when I was much younger, I spent a lot of time worrying about why don't they like me? I want them to like me. Please like me. Well, you know what? You're not meant to like me. And I'm not meant to like you. And sometimes you got to recognize you're so much better than everybody else. So why even try?
What does it take to get to that stage, right? Because I had this conversation with Kara.
A lot of pain, and a lot of whining over, like realizing that you're worried about what this person thinks about you. And the truth is, it doesn't matter what they think.
Right.
What matters is that, do my friends think I'm being a good person? Does God think I'm being a good person? Does my mother think? Do my kids?
Yeah.
Okay, that's really all that matters. Everybody else, fuck off. I don't have time for you. And that's hard because I've cleansed people out of my life that I felt like were not positive influences on my life.
Right.
And I had to grow out of those friendships. And it was hard because they're like, I don't understand. We don't hang out anymore. It wasn't good for my spirit. It really wasn't.
I listened to one of your interviews and you said at one point in your career, there was a client who was working with whatever company you were working with, and they saw you and said they didn't want somebody like you representing them.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
That was hard. That was early on in my career. I cried like a baby. I was like, I don't understand. I have my master's. I did everything I was supposed to do. And my boss at the time, God bless her, Diane Scheib, she said, with tears in her eyes, she said, what are we going to do about it? Well, are we going to cry and have a pity party? Or are you going to go and be the successful person that I know you can be in this industry? Because if you quit now, then they win. And it's weird because you get so frustrated. No matter how, and talk to any senior person of color, Black or brown, or it doesn't really matter. And women, the woman issue is a big issue. Sometimes they don't want you.
And that's just it.
It's just really simple. You can walk into a room and tell immediately if someone's going to give you a fair shake. I can look in their eyes and see immediately if they lose all. I'm like, oh yeah, we don't have this. You don't want someone like me. Or you walk into a room and you're the most qualified and they're always going to go to the older white person in the room. Because that's who they're comfortable with.
So how do you, I guess at that level, because how do you navigate that? Because, well, clearly you've navigated it, right?
I remember one time I was working for a company. I'm not going to say who it was. And my boss got really drunk at the time. And he said, how do you think it feels to know I'm only here because I'm the white guy and you're the smart one? He said, don't you think I know they put me here just because we know that this particular group of individuals from this particular country won't see a Black woman as a leader? I said, yeah, well, you said it, not me.
Wow.
He's like, I know I'm only here to be like your person. He said, it's fucked up. I said, yeah, it's fucked up. That's the industry we're in. Some people, no matter how qualified I am, will never see me as the leader. They will test me more than others. They will ask questions they want to ask of my older white counterparts. It is consistent how they are. The level of passive aggressiveness is exhausting. So then when you put on your armor and say you got to be confident, then you're told, oh, she's being assertive. Oh, she's being too aggressive. Oh, she's being too full of herself. Oh, she's got to dial it back. By the time you finish dissecting all the twos and the isms, you'll drive yourself crazy. That's why I said sometimes you got to say, fuck it. Fuck it in a bucket. I'm not dealing with this anymore.
Right. And just do what you came here to do.
Be you. Do you and do you well.
Wow.
You don't want to work with me? Don't. There are plenty of people that will.
Wow. Just takes a while to get there.
Takes a while to get there, but you can't get upset.
Right.
You could, but then I'd be consumed with anger. What kind of life is that? I can't enjoy my martinis or French fries, which, by the way, for the audience, right? French fries are not allowed, but one martini might be.
Martini, you can have martinis.
You can have one martini and sip it with great consideration.
And enjoy it while you do.
Because the next day you're coming in to see us.
So, I mean, the flip side to that And I'm thinking about that why again. I'm thinking, oh, they know. Like, like the fact that he acknowledged it, I'm like, to me is huge, right? But at the same time, I've heard you say consistently that you still need to surround yourself with a diverse
absolutely.
group of people who don't look like you.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
They should surround you. I think, Vice President Kamala Harris said it. You got to surround yourself with people that disagree with you. Doesn't mean you don't respect them. The best leaders surround themselves with the people that give them the right perspective for running that business.
Right.
You may not always agree with them, but you do.
Right.
I remember when I first went to Africa, I was working with a holding company person that did not want me there. He was very clear, did not want someone like me there. And imagine I'm in Kenya and I'm like, how do you not want me there? I'm great. This guy did not go to university. He was so snobby. He was from a different country. He was not Kenyan, but he did not like me. And I remember one of my advisors at the time said to me, God, he's going to hate you. It's going to be wonderful.
It's going to be wonderful.
Because he had oppressed the team in Africa for far too long. And he did not treat them with respect. So I made it my entire goal to make him miserable and be the best at what I was doing. By the time I left there, he was shaking. He was like, I will never, ever hire someone like you. He's no longer in the business.
Wow.
I have lots of examples like that.
So how many countries have you led in?
Oof.
Let's go through the list real quick.
There's a lot of countries. You're overseeing the continent. Let's talk about the 56 countries in Africa.
Overseeing the continent.
Overseeing the continent. Except for South Africa, as you know, they're always special.
Right.
And the Middle East is all tied in with, so South Africa is special. They know they're special. It's different. I've worked across EMEA. And for those who don't know what it is, Europe, Middle East, and Africa, overseeing the region, driving client services. Managed Unilever worldwide, worked with Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation in Nepal, in parts of Rwanda. I forgot about that. Kenya.
Forgot about Rwanda.
Kigali, which actually is like the Switzerland of Africa. I guess I have worked around the world. Yeah, I've worked in lots of places.
So being a citizen of the world.
I am a citizen of the world.
This time.
Yeah. I miss it though. I miss traveling around the world. It's funny, I was talking, in dating, gentleman I'm dating, I said, well, sweetheart, I said, I can't sit still. So I hope you don't think you're dating one of these people who can just sit at home and look at you and you look at me and we look at each other and it's the same every night, because that is the quickest way to drive me crazy. I think he's had to learn to embrace the fact that I am a citizen of the world.
Right.
And don't try to constrain me, because if you do, it just won't work. Yeah. At least not for me. Yeah. I won't be around very long if you try to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he's learned.
Got to maintain that freedom. But does it give you any insight on what's happening right now?
So who's going to be the voice of reason? Who's going to actually tote the lines? And I actually think that's where the world I'm in comes in handy. I think brands have a bigger role in not taking a side, but being the voice of reason. Brands can't take a side, but they can be a voice of reason, a voice of calm, particularly if your government is not.
Right. Wow.
And businesses can.
So as we're coming to a close, because I could do this for a lot longer.
I know. You didn't know all this.
I did not know all of this. But as you got two beautiful kids.
Troy and Azza. I love them. Yeah. My babies.
Yeah. And I can tell you're fans of them, for sure.
You know what? You've done well when your kids are good humans.
Yeah.
And they care deeply about other people. And my ex and I were blessed to raise them as citizens of the world.
Right.
And he and I are not married, but I think we can both agree that we raised some pretty awesome kids. And they have such big hearts. And, coming back to the U.S. was hard for them. They loved living outside the U.S. Initially, it was hard when they left at 10 and 13. But then when they came back, they were like, what is happening here?
Right.
We want to go back. I mean, we loved, Nairobi was amazing. And we loved London. You're from London.
Right.
We managed to settle into a family situation in London, which is we had Sunday supper.
Yeah.
Sunday roast every Sunday with our family in London. And it was wonderful. It's like God gave me just what I needed in that time. London put me back together again.
Wow. So what does that taught you? Because, people listening, like you've had all these high-powered situations, right? You're in one right now, right?
Yeah.
You've been all over the world. You've got these great kids, right? You've got this great friend circle, right? First question is, what has raising your kids taught you? With all of the other stuff going on.
You're a dad.
Oh, yeah.
You want to be humble? Raise some kids.
Yeah.
You want to have God laugh at you? Tell him you have the perfect plan for your kids.
Right.
And they'll go left. I mean, you got to keep them prayed up.
Right.
Anyone can tell you that when you have kids, they end up living outside your heart. You can't. I talked to a friend of mine about this today. She was like, I'm so worried about, my child. I said, you can't worry because you got to stay prayed up because we can't control all situations. I think one of the things that parents like us are probably most concerned about is we grew up a little harder.
Yeah.
Our parents literally threw us to the wolves.
Yeah, for sure.
And they were like, go get that Band-Aid out. Our kids didn't live like that.
Right.
And now they're having to live like that. And we don't know how to react because our parents didn't have the tools.
Yeah.
And I don't know why we beat ourselves up thinking, God, we can't give them everything. You can't give them everything.
You can or cannot?
Cannot.
No, you can't.
Guess what? You can't give them everything.
Right.
Some things they're just going to have to figure out on their own.
Right.
And I dare say, they might even fail, but they'll come back.
Right.
And I think the best thing we can do as parents, and I don't have all the answers, is let them fail a little bit. Not a little bit.
Yeah.
They can figure it out.
Yep.
Smart kids. But, I'm glad that they grew up all over the world. I'm glad that they treat people as humans. My daughter's at Loyola Marymount in Los Angeles. My son just graduated summa cum laude from Howard.
Yeah, I saw the tears on Instagram.
And I got to tell you, Howard University, and I know my friends from Howard are going to love this. Best thing for a young Black man.
Best thing.
For my son, best education, best experience. It completed his circle as a young man. He needed Howard. Howard needed him, but he needed Howard.
Wow.
And Howard did right by him.
So thank you, Nadja.
Thank you, Robert.
Now, quick-fire questions real quick. Favorite restaurant in New York City?
Pastis.
London?
Roca.
Go-to fashion store? You might have a few there.
I do have a few. I love Zimmerman. I do love Zimmerman.
Zimmerman, okay. Products you can't live without?
My Eve Lum cleanser.
Okay. Specific to you, favorite place in Africa to visit?
Oh, Ghana.
Thank you, my sister.
I love Ghana.
Best hangout spot?
The good.
The good. I got to get to the good.
I love the good.
And finally, any favorite book, podcast, anything that has enlightened your wisdom?
I just finished reading Ketanji Jackson's biography.
Oh.
It's really good. It is really, really good. Read it.
Ketanji Jackson.
Yeah.
Nadja Bellan-White, thank you very much.
Thank you,
This has been great. Love this. And I will continue to find my joy.
Find your joy. Thank you.